the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show with your hosts Maurice, Patton, and Wade Neely. Proudly presented each week by our friends at the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans, don't let fans drive drunk.
Hey, welcome into the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show for week 2. They let us come back this week. I'm not sure if they're going to let us come back next week.
A double dose, baby.
Yeah, but we are presented by 10 Pin Alley, Eat, Play, Party, and also by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. Wade, week 1, we got under our belts and we got some good results. We got some intriguing results that we're going to talk about more later in the show, but I feel like all of our coaches feel good about getting week 1 out of the way.
100%. The spring was fun. The summer was exciting, but it all really kind of built up to last Friday, Thursday or Friday, when you really strapped them up for real. And now after that first week, you maybe for the first time really kind of have a little bit of a real picture of where your team sits, whether you're a coach, whether you're a player, whether you're a fan or family member. So week 1 was kind of the real formality. Now it feels like the season can really kind of take off in earnest here.
Yeah, you got a better idea of what you need to work on, what works well, that kind of thing. So yeah, these coaches are probably feeling pretty good as they approach their second games. So let's take a quick break. Let's come back. Let's talk about what happened in week 1 here in Southern Middle Tennessee on the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
He shoots and he scores!
Hello, I'm Rick Whitley.
And I'm Daniel Pollard from Jones and Lang Sporting Goods. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for the many years of support. Since 1966, Jones and Lang has been locally owned and operated and supplying teams from T-ball to college. Stop by and see what we can do for you. We offer a wide variety of services from silk screening and embroidery to our custom trophy and awards department.
We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to noon. Remember, Jones and Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Robertson County Chancery Court is hosting an in-person court auction Saturday, September 7th at 10 a.m. Buy up to 9.46 acres of beautiful Robertson County land, selling in 2 tracts. Each tract includes water and approved soil areas. Located at 4637 Boyd Holland Road. Join us Saturday, September 7th at 10 a.m. Sales subject to court approval. For more details, call 615-384-5650 today.
They have always met wildest expectations as far as taking care of my teeth and my health. Teeth health is very important now to your heart. And I told him one day, I said, I'd love to have nice teeth and nice hair. And he said, well, I can take care of the teeth, but I can't take care of the hair. And I said, you can make my teeth? He said, yeah. I said, well, let's go for it. And he did. And I have been tremendously pleased. Dr. Hart, if you need him at night, he's here. This staff here will take care of you 24/7. You don't have to worry about, I can't get a hold of my dentist, my tooth's hurting. No, they will be here for you. And if I could get Dr. Hart to take that same artistry that he has and grow hair, then he would be double rich.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Hey, welcome back to the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show presented by 10 Pin Alley Eat, Play, Party. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Week 1. Let's start it up with what I felt like was the most impressive performance of the week by one of our area teams as Columbia Academy went over to Middle Tennessee Christian, the defending Division IIA state champion, asserted themselves early and often in a 42-20 win.
Yeah, this was a game coming in. We talked about the familiarity factor, meeting a couple of times last season. MTCS going on to win the state championship. How hungry would Columbia Academy be? How well would they come out and play? And we got our answer. They would be very hungry, and they would come out and play very well. As you said, 42-20. That's a solid start against a really, really bona fide championship defending type team right there. Great start for CA to begin the year.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of something old and something new for CA in that when something old, Monte Baldwin became the school's all-time leading rusher, finished with 227 yards, scored twice on 30 carries. But something new, Stephen Neves stepping in at quarterback for Connor Rawson from last year, threw for 4 touchdowns, finished with 185 passing yards. And if he is able to do that on a regular basis to keep defenses honest against Baldwin, then they are going to make another run.
Yeah, I mean, Baldwin alone is probably good enough to take you pretty dang far. But with the fact, that you have the ability to keep defenses honest, that just makes it that much more difficult to game plan for.
And I think what makes them even more dangerous is those 4 touchdowns were to 3 different guys.
Oof.
So
spreading it around.
Yeah. Absolutely. Big win for Columbia Academy. Tough loss for Columbia Central. 3 first half interceptions over at Marshall County, but led 14-13 at the half. Had to come back late though and couldn't quite get it done. Scored to make it 25-20. 25-20, got the 2-point conversion to make it 25-22, got the onside kick, crossed midfield, ran out of time, couldn't convert a 4th down.
Yeah, difficult way to start the season. But, I mean, kind of one of those where, you're frustrated. Yeah, you're angry that you lost. But you also kind of got to feel like a little – optimistic. Hey, we let that one get away. Right. A lot of folks counted us out, and we let that game get away. Marshall County, as we've discussed, is a tough place to go in and get a win. And so Columbia being right there like they were, kind of maybe let Marshall County off the hook. That to me feels one of those, you're going to be frustrated you lost that one, but you also got to feel pretty optimistic about what you take away from that one.
And doing that largely with a sophomore quarterback, Daniel Booker rushed for 73 yards on 13 carries, threw for that last touchdown, ran for 2 earlier, gave his team a chance late for a sophomore coming off the bench, not making his first start, but getting his first major exposure
in a hostile environment.
Yes, exactly. Man. So tough loss, but plenty to build on for Columbia Central, you feel like, in that one. Independence also starting a sophomore quarterback, Matthew Horner, and that's a tough ask against the 4 straight state championship game appearances, current defending state runner-up in Class 6A, Oakland. And the Patriots didn't make it easy, scoring on their first 2 possessions and not really giving Independence a chance to breathe in that one. eventually Oakland wins it 35-0. But again, your sophomore quarterback got his first start under his belt, and it's only up from here.
Yeah, 35-0. The question mark for me was how good was Oakland going to be after kind of stubbing their toe a couple of times last season, and it seems like the answer is going to be pretty dang good.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're Independence, now the question becomes, okay, what do you take away? What can you take away from this game and try and implement for the rest of your season going forward? Yeah, the score was what it was. The team was what it was that last Friday, but hey, if you can take a little something, glean, and get better from it, that's where you can really make a mark, because they have a tough road ahead. Every week going forward is going to be tough, so you might as well start with a really good squad in Oakland.
And I think one of the things that they take away is if we can take away the big plays
Mm-hmm.
on defense. Now, that said, Oakland has a little bit more big play ability than a lot of teams that you're going to see. So that may not necessarily be an issue every week for Independence. But when you've got the opportunity to eliminate those on a defensive approach, that's going to help the Eagles out there.
Yeah, you got to be careful, right? Because you don't want to have a false sense of security. Hey, we're not going to play anybody tougher than this all year. That may be true, but you still got to stay true to your principles and stay true to your core beliefs on the defensive side of the ball, especially because you're right. You're not going to play many more talented teams than that, but you at least got to be on your guard going forward.
Absolutely. Summit rushed for 351 yards, and nobody was happier to see that than Brian Coleman, because that's the kind of football he wants to play. The Spartans with a 28-16 win over Spring Hill. Quarterback Mason McElhaney rushes for a couple of touchdowns. Braylon Thompson and Dylan Pierce for one each, and all three of them topped 100 yards.
Solid efforts in a crazy game. This was a game that we felt like it could have been a little sneaky. One of those, hey, it could start your season on a really promising note. And so it was good to see them come out and take care of business. Obviously, if you're Spring Hill, you're thinking, okay, maybe, we've got some work to do, obviously, but maybe we're not as far behind as we potentially thought.
Yeah. Spring Hill got a big boost in the third quarter with a 99-yard Patrick Bunch kickoff return for a touchdown.
That will help.
That will juice things up a little
absolutely.
bit after scoring on a field goal earlier in the game. But Spring Hill finished with 42 rushing yards, 150 yards offensively, and that's kind of where they've got to pick things up.
Yeah. You can't bank on those special teams plays every single week. Those are kind of like precious gifts, and when you get them, you got to cash in. So, yeah, the offensive continuity going forward will be clutch and will be key.
Without question. Speaking of big plays, Mount Pleasant in a 37-6 win over Wayne County had a slew of them. Got on the board with a 90-yard John Michael Wright pass to Jakari McClure. Scored later on a 68-yard right pass to Carter Dunn, and a scoop and score from Evan Plunkett for 40 yards. You always like those.
Man, yeah, picking up right where they left off. We mentioned coming into last week, playing on the new turf, 37-6 come out, kind of a little bit of a buzzsaw type effect, as Wayne County really did not give themselves much of a chance, as Mount Pleasant was able to score in a number of different capacities last Friday.
Yeah, tough matchup for Wayne County there, but Mount Pleasant has been a big play type team for the past few years, and that doesn't seem to be going away.
And McClure had what, three catches or almost 150 yards?
143.
Yeah, good effort there to get him started on a solid note.
John Michael Wright in his first start, 7 of 11 for 289 yards and those 3 touchdowns. So yeah, nice performance both by the thrower and those catching the ball for Mount Pleasant.
And for folks that thought Mount Pleasant maybe a touchdown, maybe think again, because they looked great in their Week 1 win.
They did indeed. Up in Rudderville, you were on hand for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Page and Giles County, this is a game that has wrought some havoc in past years. What, overtime last year, 35-34 Page at the Brickyard?
Yep.
No such drama this time around.
Not really, especially after halftime. The real drama came early in the first half as Page coming in with a fantastic defense, a couple guys that are going to play at the next level versus a couple guys that are just now starting for the first time at this level. Giles County came out and actually exceeded, I think, a lot of folks' expectations in the first quarter. They drove all the way down. Drive fizzled out around the Page 30. The Patriots came down and scored, made it 7-0. Game was 7-0 all the way until about 2 minutes left until halftime. Giles County blocks a field goal, one bounce extra, and they pick scoop and score, would have tied the game. But as it were, they fall on the ball and have to punt. Page scores, makes it 14-0. That pretty much ended the game. It felt like Giles County was going to need a special teams or a defensive touchdown to ever win it. But they improved. I think going from the preseason to seeing a really good defense versus Page. Page's defense is legit. Page's defense is elite. And Giles County's offense will get a little bit better as the season goes on.
And that offense, again, we've talked about sophomore quarterbacks already in this segment. There was another one on display Friday night.
Yeah, Xavier Randolph, he's going to be pretty good. They've been calling him the franchise. Jokingly, I think, since he arrived on campus last year as a freshman, he made some really good throws, did not turn it over, and did not really make many bad decisions, and they let him throw the ball against a really good Page defense. They did not put the kid gloves on him to start things off.
Well, if you play quarterback for David O'Connor, you're going to throw the ball.
Yep. He will get better. Giles County's offense will get better. Page, scary to think about because their defense could get better too. They did not look like they were at their best, and they're still pretty dang solid.
Your other team in the Pulaski Citizen coverage area, Richland, goes down to the pit. I'm sorry, Meadows-Thompson Stadium in Fayetteville, and had a tough go.
Tough go of it for the Raiders. Held their own, tied the game up. Lincoln County got up 7-0, but then Richland ties it up 7-7. Second quarter, though, things kind of fell off. Wheels fell off the wagon, as it were, for Richland, as 21 unanswered for the Falcons. Brett Dobbs, a really talented rusher for them. He started really just churning up the yardage, and Richland kind of just never had an answer. Lincoln County really kind of put them to bed early. It got up to as much as, I think, 42-7 at one point until Richland scored late. So this was a game that, you don't want to really watch and spend a lot of time on the tape for Richland because they kind of struggled versus a 5A team. Jumping up a couple weight classes, as it were, versus Lincoln County.
Credit to Richland for jumping up a couple of weight classes.
Yeah, and that was a 1-point loss at home last year to Lincoln County. So, they felt pretty confident coming into that game. They've got some questions about their offense, particularly on their offensive line, I think, going forward. They have a lot to replace from last year, and if they could get that solved, however, look out for them going forward.
Lincoln County was down to their number 3 quarterback. Is that right?
Some debate on whether or not it was the 2 or the 3, but they definitely were without their starting quarterback in Maddox Franklin, who appears to be lost for at least 7 or 8 weeks due to a leg or ankle injury. And so Lincoln County with the backup QB in. Again, it didn't kind of matter, though, because Dobbs was so effective on the ground for the Falcons. It'll be interesting to see how they evolve as the season goes on because their schedule will get tougher.
Summertown.
Oh, mama.
Yes, likely the shocker of the weekend.
14-0. Was it the Battle of the Buffalo? Summertown comes out, defeats Lawrence County in a game that all the points were scored in the first half. Lawrence County had a couple of drives in the second, and they threw interceptions. First of all, the fact that Lawrence County is throwing the ball will give some people a little heartburn, but they're doing it on purpose because they're trailing and they're chasing the game, but they throw not 1 but 2 interceptions right near the goal line, and Coach Winfrey's bunch is undefeated in the 2024 season thanks to a heroic performance by their defense.
Loretto with a big win, downing Collinwood 35-0. Mason Tidwell with a big performance for the Mustangs in that one.
Yeah, 300 plus passing yards for Tidwell. Corbin Reynolds got back on the gridiron, so a lot to be excited about for Loretto. And they get ready. We'll have more on this later, but they get ready to take on Lawrence County this week. Buckle up, because Loretto seems to be like they're playing at a high level thus far to start the year.
Absolutely. You can see more detail in Main Street Maury, the print edition, but we've got our stat leaders out of week 1 for offensive leaders. We've got the rushing leaders. We've got the rushing leaders, we've got the passing leaders, and we've got the receiving leaders. And we'll come back to those after the break.
He shoots, and he scores!
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hello, I'm Rick Whitley.
And I'm Daniel Pollard from Jones and Lang Sporting Goods. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for the many years of support. Since 1966, Jones and Lang has been locally owned and operated and supplying teams from T-ball to college. Stop by and see what we can do for you. We offer a wide variety of services, from silk screening and embroidery to our custom trophy and awards department.
We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to noon. Remember, Jones and Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Robertson County Chancery Court is hosting an in-person court auction Saturday, September 7th at 10 a.m. Buy up to 9.46 acres of beautiful Robertson County land, selling in 2 tracts. Each tract includes water and approved soil areas. Located at 4637 Boyd Holland Road. Join us Saturday, September 7th at 10 a.m. Sales subject to court approval. For more details, call 615-384-5650 today.
Do you wanna be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you wanna taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
Hey, welcome back into the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We're brought to you by 10 Pin Alley, Eat, Play, Party. Let's get to those stat leaders that we were talking about at the end of the last segment. Let's start with the rushing leaders coming out of week 1 for the area. And we mentioned Monte Baldwin and his big performance, 30 carries, 227 yards, and a pair of touchdowns. That leads the area. But Nicholas McDowell and that trio from Summit, Mason McElhaney, Braylon Thompson, and Dylan Pierce, each went over 100 as well. So running the ball was top of mind for a lot of our area programs in week 1. You can see the full list of the leaders right there. Passing leaders, we mentioned Mason Tidwell out of Loretto with the big 316-yard, 3-touchdown effort in that win over Collinwood. John Michael Wright again throwing for 289 yards on just 7 completions. What's that?
Wow.
That's 40-plus yards per completion.
Yeah, efficiency.
Very much. Three touchdowns, 1 pick. Cale Scott in the loss for Lawrence County threw for 225 yards. We mentioned Stephen Neves with 185 yards and 4 touchdowns. Again, the full list of our area leaders right there, and you can see those in Main Street Maury, the print edition. Receiving, we talked about Jakiri McClure and his 3 catches for 143 yards and a touchdown in that Mount Pleasant win over Wayne County. Also going over the triple-digit milestone, Corbin Reynolds, 5 catches for 123 yards, a pair of scores. Also, Jackson Robertson, 107 yards on 2 catches. Again, efficiency. So I think you're going to kind of expect to see that all year out of Loretto with the experienced quarterback in Mason Tidwell. Had to step in last year for Carter Daniel, got a lot of time under his belt, and they like to sling it around, and they've got the guys that can go get it. So watch out for that. But as you were saying about Lawrence County, Gage Smith, 7 catches, 93 yards. I mean, there have been times that Lawrence County hasn't thrown the ball 7 times in a game.
Yeah, they're going to throw the ball, I think, more and more and more as this season goes along. Some of that may be out of necessity, but they have shown a propensity to throw the ball on early down and distance over the last couple of years. So statistical leaders be on the hunt for Lawrence County. They will be in the mix, I think, a little bit more on the passing and receiving end than you might traditionally expect.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and get into our slate for week 2. Let's start at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, where Columbia Central will host Dixon County. Both these teams coming in at 0-1. Again, Columbia Central dropped a tough one over at Marshall County this past weekend, 25-22. Dixon County falls to county rival Creekwood, 28-14, to fall to 0-1 as well. We talked about the lines. We talked about, some of the optimism that they should be able to take into this second game. And again, that starts behind Daniel Booker, I feel like, the sophomore quarterback who came in and kind of stabilized things offensively. I would think that Columbia Central can build on that momentum that they created late in that ball game, because they did a lot of good things before they finally lost by 3.
Yeah, you would hope so. And again, we kind of opened the show with maybe week 2. A lot of folks say that this is the week where you find the biggest sign of improvement or disappointment in a lot of your teams. If we see Columbia take that step in the right direction this week, I think that really speaks volumes about what this team is capable of. And I think they have a very favorable chance to do so, playing Dixon County and playing at home. This will be a chance for the Columbia Central Lions to kind of get that first win, but also continue to take steps in the right direction.
I tend to agree. Independence going back up the same interstate that you went up last weekend, taking on the Page Patriots. Independence again coming in 0-1 following that loss to Oakland last week. Page with the 28-0 win at home against Giles County. Indy's got some things to work on both sides of the ball. And I think one of the surprises for Independence was they missed a couple of field goals. And their guy, Landon Majewski, is a guy who won some ball games for them last year with the foot. I think they were a little surprised to come off with 1 missed field goal and 1 blocked field goal from makeable distances for Majewski in both cases. So, among things that they're going to want to shore up, that will be among them, I think. But kind of an out of the frying pan into the fire type thing here for Independence, because coming off of a loss to the 6A state runner-up, they go and face the 5A state runner-up from last year.
Yep, and Page didn't play a perfect game last week by any stretch. I think Coach Rathbone probably feels that they left some points out there, especially in the first half versus Giles County. The second half was kind of a glorified JV game for much of that third and fourth quarter. Independence is the team to watch in this game, in my opinion, because if they can take what they learned potentially against Oakland and apply even just a little bit, I think this could be a decent enough game because Page, they didn't get a true effort last week because, again, Giles County is such a young team. It was a borderline JV game for big stretches of this. So Page is a little untested in that regard. If Independence can show up and play well, this game could be pretty close, I think.
Independence turned it over 3 times last week as well.
You don't do that. And maybe, who knows how things go.
Absolutely.
You do that, and you see what happens.
And you do pretty well know how things go.
Yep.
Mount Pleasant back at home again Friday night. Cross-county rivalry as Spring Hill comes to town. Obviously, the Raiders 0-1 following that 28-16 loss to Summit. Mount Pleasant coming off the big win in their opener over Wayne County. Mount Pleasant won this game close last year. I'm kind of intrigued to see what Spring Hill does offensively after last week's performance against Summit because they're going to have to score some points because Mount Pleasant is.
Yeah, Mount Pleasant's offense put up a big number last week. What did we say? 37 points. So, this is a team that feels like they're clicking already on a number of cylinders. They won't be intimidated by Spring Hill from a classification standpoint, which sometimes, you wonder how teams play that into their consideration. I don't think that will be much of a factor. So Spring Hill is going to have to be at their best if they want to give Mount Pleasant even a shot this Friday night, because I think the Tigers playing at home and playing fast like they have in week 1 bodes well for them going into week 2 here this week.
Mount Pleasant only rushed for 65 yards against Wayne County. Summit rushed for, as we said, 351 against Spring Hill. So does that I'm interested to see what Mount Pleasant's run game in particular is capable of in this matchup.
Yeah, this could be a week where, maybe you want to throw the ball more, but you say, based on what Spring Hill is going to be able to or not able to defend, maybe this is a week where we focus on our run game, kind of a get-back type situation, if you will, if you're Mount Pleasant and that coaching staff. So a lot of variables going into this one. Or Mount Pleasant could just say, you know what, forget it. We're just going to throw. We're going to put the pedal to the metal yet again. But Spring Hill has got to improve and got to play better if they want to keep this close, I think, versus the Tigers.
Big matchup in Williamson County as Summit travels to Centennial. And Centennial coming off of a 22-21 overtime loss in the Battle of Franklin to the Admirals. This is a really good Cougars team, I think. And I think the fact that they dropped that one to Franklin might say something about the Admirals, but this is going to be a high-quality matchup here, I think.
I think it's going to be a fun game. We've talked so much about Summit and what they did last week on the ground. You kind of also get the feeling that Centennial is going to come in and going to be a little ticked off after such a hard-fought defeat in week 1. So this is going to be kind of a proverbial, almost rubber meets road type situation in my mind. I'm looking forward to a good game coming up Friday.
Yeah, I saw Centennial and Spring Hill in the Maury County Jamboree a couple of weeks ago, and Centennial threw for 2 70-yard touchdowns. So I don't know. I think this is going to be a test for the Summit secondary. If they can match up on the perimeter with Centennial, this can be a heck of a ball game. If Centennial is able to hit on a couple of big plays, I don't know that Summit can match them big play for big play.
I agree.
So that's kind of where the rubber meets the road, as you said. Webb Bell Buckle coming into Columbia Academy. Both these teams coming in at 1-0. Webb with a 56-6 win over Cornersville. Again, Columbia Academy going over to Middle Tennessee Christian and winning. CA handled their business over at Webb last year on a Thursday night. It sounds as if Webb has improved perhaps dramatically. So this may be a game to kind of keep an eye on.
Could be fun to see. And I guess that will be the real question, right, is how much has Webb improved? I don't know that they've improved enough to give Columbia Academy the type of game that some folks maybe would like to see. But I think that's not necessarily a diss on Webb Bell-Buckle. I think that's more of a positive affirmation for Columbia Academy.
Hardin County and Giles County will both be 0-1 when they arrive at the Brickyard Friday night.
Tough loss for Hardin County last week. They fell to MBA last week on the road. Memphis Business Academy, that is. Just want to let everybody know. But yes, this was a matchup last year that went to the fourth quarter. Hardin County had an elite quarterback, had a long tenured coaching staff, and Matthew Smith. They no longer have either one of those, as Carter Smith has graduated and Coach Smith has now stepped away. So Hardin County's got some answers coming in, and they've got to go on the road to Giles County. Bobcats have some answers to try and figure out after a tough loss on the road at Page, where they were shut out for the first time since 2020 by Pearl Cone back in late in the regular season there. So this will be an interesting game. I think we learn a little more about Giles County Friday night than we maybe learn about Hardin County. And I'm anticipating a fun one at the Brickyard.
Richland goes over to Cascade, taking on the champions. That's their nickname. Both 0-1.
Yeah, tough to be the champions and sitting there at 0-1. So you got to imagine that they would come out and be a little prideful. Richland certainly, this feels like Richland under Coach Nick Patterson, they certainly have been improving the last couple of years. Missed the playoffs last year, but made it 2 years ago. But it had been a long time until then. They're still a little, I think, emotionally fragile. And the slightest little thing that can throw them off course, I'm not saying it could derail the season, but, man, it could be really tough to claw back out of. This is a huge game and a huge opportunity for Richland, in my mind, this Friday night.
Loretto travels to Lawrenceburg looking for their second straight win over the Wildcats after beating them last year.
Two ways to spin this. Number one is Loretto is really good. And the other way to spin it is we're Lawrence County. We're not supposed to lose to Loretto no matter how good they are. I don't know that there's space for both of those ideas to be held at the same time this year, because Lawrence County has not been up to snuff after just 1 week, already fallen to Summertown. And, yeah, Loretto is that good after knocking them off last year. This could be 2 in a row if they're not careful for Lawrence County.
Unstoppable force, immovable object?
Man, yeah,
it's kind of looking like, two worlds colliding down in Lawrenceburg on Friday night. Summertown, 1-0 Summertown, traveling to Waynesboro, taking on the 0-1 Wildcats. And as excited as they've ever been about football in Summertown, this would be it, I would think.
Yeah, talked to their head coach, Dan Winfrey, a couple weeks ago, and he said the cool thing is the kids actually know my name, and I know their name after I got hired like 10 days before the season last year. So I'm just glad I know everybody. And what an offseason it has been, and what a week one it was, as they score 14 in the first half and then let their defense win it for them in the second. Why not Summertown, who only won 1 game last season? They've already got the Richland Raiders late in the season last year. Maybe they get 2 wins 2 weeks into this season coming up Friday night.
Those are the games. When we come back here on the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show, presented by 10 Pin Alley, Wade and I are going to give you our predictions. Stay tuned.
Hello, I'm Rick Whitley.
And I'm Daniel Pollard from Jones and Lang Sporting Goods. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for the many years of support. Since 1966, Jones and Lang has been locally owned and operated and supplying teams from T-ball to college. Stop by and see what we can do for you. We offer a wide variety of services, from silk screening and embroidery to our custom trophy and awards department.
We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to noon. Remember, Jones and Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Robertson County Chancery Court is hosting an in-person court auction Saturday, September 7th at 10 a.m. Buy up to 9.46 acres of beautiful Robertson County land, selling in 2 tracts. Each tract includes water and approved soil areas. Located at 4637 Boyd Holland Road. Join us Saturday, September 7th at 10 a.m. Sales subject to court approval. For more details, call 615-384-5650 today.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
He shoots, and he scores!
Hey, welcome back to the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show presented by 10 Pin Alley. Eat, play, party. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We're also brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. Wade, I guess it's time for us to give some predictions, and it'd be kind of tough for us to improve on last week because of my 9 games, I got 8 of your 8 games because you respectfully declined to predict a Page Giles County winner because you were on the call for that one. But you got 7 of your 8. The only miss for both of us, the only blemish, and we don't mind this blemish, was Summertown 14, Lawrence County nothing. Did not see that coming.
Didn't see it coming. And
understandably so, to be fair.
First pickup of the Battle of the Buffalo for Summertown. And again, I didn't think that necessarily they would get it done, but I also didn't necessarily think that Lawrence County would be throwing interceptions out like candy as they threw 3 in the game, including 2 in the second half near the goal line. So the fact that they're throwing near the goal line is crazy enough as is, and then they throw it to Summertown. That's one we'll just have to wear and just have to own because, props again to Coach Winfrey and the bunch for a big win. And then on the other side of the spectrum, real quick, Coach Marston, some of the quotes coming out of that game, he said, we got 2 choices. We can pick it up or we can just sit around like losers and just let this loss define our season. So, he went straight into the nitty-gritty there, calling out his team, which is going to be wild to see because, as we'll get into in a moment, they got a big game coming up this Friday versus another rival.
I will tell you that my experiences with Coach Marston over the years, that does not surprise me. We can rise up or we can lay down and be a loser, but not respond in the right way.
Man. After week 1, I know you don't want to lose to your rival, but after week 1, just laying down the gauntlet. We can go this season can go one of 2 ways.
Well, set the tone.
Yeah.
Okay, we lost this one. We still got 9 more. What are we going to do?
I read that this weekend. I said, "Oh my goodness, yeah, they're." That's really, like you said, that's kind of the only way to approach this, right? We got 2 ways this can go. And
we need to decide right now.
Yeah. And let's figure out where we want to go right now rather than waste each other's time for the next 9 weeks.
That's it. Hey, let's start, Wade, with Dixon County making the trip across Highway 7 to Columbia Central Friday night. The Cougars, again, 0-1, coming off that 28-14 loss to Creekwood. Columbia Central, also 0-1. We've mentioned their tough loss at Marshall County. I just feel like the way they fought over at Lewisburg says more about Columbia Central than the outcome. And I think I think when you fight the way they did, you didn't get the payoff Friday night, but you're going to get the payoff. And I feel like that comes this week.
I think so. And I'm going to pick Columbia as well in this game, but this is one that I will definitely keep my eyes fixated on, because on paper, this is probably a game, if you're about that action, so to speak, with Columbia Central.
Hi, boss.
If you're about that action, this is a game that you win. If you are not, and that's okay too.
As Coach Morrison said.
Yeah, we'll get there, but you may not be there just yet. But if you're not, this is a game that could get away from you. So if Columbia is about what we saw last Friday, I think they win this game, and I do think they are about that in that sense. So I like Columbia Central to knock off Dixon County and get the win, improve to 1-1.
Independence at Page. Again, this is a grueling portion of the schedule for Independence, and it must have been a crazy man, i.e. Scott Stidham, that put this schedule together. But the Eagles coming off that tough loss at home to Oakland and taking on a Page team that has designs on a fourth consecutive Class 5A state championship game appearance and bringing a gold ball back to Eastern Williamson County this time around.
I'll tell you this, just from what I saw from Page last week, they are not flawless, and they definitely have some work to do to get to the proverbial championship game like we saw last year. The same questions, however, were had about this Page team last year. They did not look like a state semifinal or state runner-up last year versus Giles County in week 1. They escaped with the win. They looked a little better this year, and I think they will be a work in progress until deep into the season in regards to going and getting to the state championship game. But at least for week 2 versus Independence, I will take the Patriots at home.
I think survive and advance early on is probably Page's mantra.
Yep, it feels like it.
And I just feel like there are some inexperienced people in some key positions for Independence right now that are going to have to do some growing up. And the only way to get there is to go through it. I like Page in this one.
And when in doubt, Page's defense is pretty dang stout. A good defense can carry you a long way until your offense gets up there with you.
And William Weebush at quarterback for Page, he's not your prototypical signal caller, but he's good enough for what they've got around him.
Yep, and I'll say this one final thing about the game last week versus Giles County. Their play calls in the first half were very, very vanilla, but as they felt a little more that the game was in hand, certainly once they got up 2 scores and beyond, they got a little more creative with their play calls, and they gave him a few more responsibilities. So look for that Page offense to kind of improve, yes, as the season goes on. I like the Patriots to win this game Friday.
Spring Hill at Mount Pleasant. Raiders 0-1, lost this game last year. Mount Pleasant 1-0, impressively so, and again, won this game last year. I just think Mount Pleasant's ability to score from anywhere on the field, Patrick Bunch's 99-yard kickoff return notwithstanding against Summit, I think that eventually makes the difference. I mean, you've got to defend the entire field when you're playing Mount Pleasant, and I'm just not sure that Spring Hill can. I like the Tigers in this one, particularly at home.
Right there with you. It just feels like we've seen enough of Mount Pleasant and what they're capable of. We feel pretty confident about them. Spring Hill, I haven't seen enough just yet to really get excited enough to pick them in this game just yet. Maybe they'll get there later in the year. Unfortunately for them, this game is not being played later in the year. The game's being played in week 2. So in week 2, based on what I've seen, I got to take the Tigers.
Summit at Centennial. The Spartans coming in again at 1-0 following that win over Spring Hill. Centennial 0-1 with that tough overtime loss at Franklin last weekend. I feel like the Cougars are really going to be – I think they would have been motivated anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to be more so in this one, and that's not to say that Summit won't be, but I think this Centennial team really has its eyes on some big things in Class 5A this year, and beating a good Summit team would be a step in the right direction, and I think that's the way it goes.
I think you're exactly correct, because Centennial, this was a game, when they fall last Friday, that was one that kind of, scratched my head a little bit and said, that maybe caught me a little off guard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would be really scratching my head, with no disrespect, or with all due respect, I should say, to Summit rather. I think Centennial, yes, is out for blood a little bit, and I think is looking for that proverbial get back this week, and I think they get it playing at home. Not to say again that Summit's a bad team. I just think Centennial's got a little point to prove coming into this Friday.
Yeah. The Webb feet from Bell Buckle coming to Columbia, taking on the Bulldogs of Columbia Academy in their home opener. Columbia Academy again coming off that impressive 42-20 win over at Middle Tennessee Christian last week. Webb already 1-0 against the Bulldogs, but it's the Cornersville Bulldogs that they defeated 56-6 last week. I don't know enough about Cornersville to know exactly how to take that win, but I do know Columbia Academy is good, and I think the balance that they showed last week, again, with Stephen Neves at quarterback, with Monte Baldwin running the ball, and with the job that defense did as well. I like the Bulldogs right here.
Can't disagree with that. And kind of similar to Spring Hill and Mount Pleasant. I've seen enough from Columbia Academy to already know. I mean, they had arguably the most impressive win of anybody in our coverage area last week. I got a hard time going against them. Webb might be a team that's on the come up, and obviously you start off with a big win like that. Confidence is running high. Vibes are through the roof. I don't know that it's going to matter versus a really, really good Columbia Academy team that has shown that diversity offensively, like you said a moment ago.
Hardin County coming to the Brickyard, taking on the Giles County Bobcats, both coming in at 0-1. You're not picking this game, which leaves it on me. I don't know enough about Hardin County, but the fact that they did have a coaching change and lost their senior quarterback from last year. Giles County, you used the word earlier. Giles County is a prideful program, and I just don't think they're going to lose 2 games in a row like this. I think the sophomore quarterback, Xavier Randolph, grows up a lot from week 1 to week 2. He's not playing Page, which certainly helps. I like the Bobcats in this one.
I'm with you. I'm not going to pick this game, like I said, but if I were, everything you just, that's going to be my new one every week this week. Everything you just said holds true. If Randolph plays the way he did last week, I think Giles County wins. I mean, again, no turnovers last week, and the defense was actually playing pretty solid. Held Page to 7 points until 2 minutes left until halftime. I mean, they were playing pretty sharp football. Hardin County, too much to replace. If I were to pick the game, yes, I would give a lean toward the Bobcats, especially playing at home.
Richland and Cascade, both coming in at 0-1, going over to Bedford County. The Raiders are, we talked about Lawrence County, but I'm not used to Nick Patterson teams putting the ball in the air as much as they have either. But I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Especially with the athletes that they've got. Blaine Woodard seems to be doing a good job throwing the ball around. You've got Jaden Pryor. You've got Luke Luke Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got some guys to throw the ball to, and, kudos to Nick for kind of recognizing that and acting accordingly. You said it, and I've always believed it. Week 1 to week 2 is when you kind of see that jump. And I think that Richland is going to get a little bit more comfortable in what they're doing offensively. Blaine Woodard's going to get a little bit more comfortable back there at quarterback. I think Richland goes on the road here, kind of licks their wounds from last week.
Yeah.
Playing somebody that they're a little bit more evenly matched with than Lincoln County was. And I think they get this one.
I'm with you in this sense. There's no shame in a 1A team going on the road and fall into a 5A team. I mean, it is what it is. Richland was a 1A school going on the road and took on Lincoln County, and they came up short.
If nothing else, numbers were going to eventually catch up with them.
100%. And so with that being said, I'm going to give Richland the benefit of the doubt one more week. If they come out for some reason and don't live up to the billing this week, then maybe I'll start setting off some alarm bells. But as of right now, I think Richland capitalizes on their momentum and the few little lessons they maybe potentially did learn last Friday. They roll those all together, and they go on the road and get a nice win, which will set them up nicely for the second little run here as they get ready to crank up that brutal region schedule momentarily.
Loretto goes to Lawrence County. The Mustangs coming in 1-0 after putting up 35 in a shutout victory over Collinwood. Lawrence County 0-1 in a shutout loss to Summertown. Comparing scores, you got to be careful with, but Summertown beating Lawrence County 14-0, and you feel like Loretto is better than Summertown. So going back to some of your old math classes, theorems, if then, I feel like this is Loretto's win. But again, week 1 to week 2.
Yeah, and Coach Marston laid down the gauntlet versus the Wildcats. We will see if they are up for the challenge. I think, however, this is Loretto's game, and I am picking Loretto to win this game. And it's not a diss, per se, on Lawrence County. I just really like what I've seen from Loretto. Again, this is a team that went undefeated in the regular season last year, and they have Tidwell slinging the ball around. They have Reynolds, who's scored on the second play from scrimmage last week. This is a Loretto team that wants to play fast and will go fast, and I think they win this game. I don't think Lawrence County loses this game, if that makes any sense, and I think both teams get better after playing this game. Lawrence County could be a really good 0-2 team coming after this week because Summertown's improved and Loretto is very good, in my opinion.
I think you hit on everything that I probably would have hit on. I think the only thing is if Lawrence County does help Loretto with 3 interceptions, 2 near the goal line, I mean, then it could really get out of hand.
Yeah, if Lawrence County starts playing the turnover game, as David O'Connor likes to say, if they start playing Santa Claus and just giving things away, then that will not end well whatsoever for Lawrence County. It has the chance to be a good game, but they have to play very, very, very carefully with the football in terms of possession.
I think you're right. Lawrence County is better or can be better, but I feel like Loretto gets this win. Finally, Summertown going to Wayne County, the 1-0 Eagles. I like Summertown in this one. I think they've got a lot of momentum going into it, and I think they cash in on the road.
This is a game that probably, if I was a real football guy, maybe I say Wayne County didn't play that great, and Mount Pleasant was really strong last week, and maybe this and maybe that. I'm just going for the vibes. Summertown, you're right. They're flying high off of a win versus their rival, and why not? Give me Coach Winfrey. Give me Summertown. I'm going to pick them every week until they lose, I think, at this point, just because they seem to be playing fun, and who knows what a win like that last week versus your rival could mean in terms of confidence going forward. Give me the Eagles this week.
Absolutely. That's going to do it for the Week 2 Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show presented by 10 Pin Alley, Eat, Play, Party. Also, the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. We'll see y'all next week.
This is the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show with your hosts, Maurice, Patton, and Wade Neely. Proudly presented each week by our friends at the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans, don't let fans drive drunk.